Hey everyone, Little House of Geeky here, and I am back to break down the Star music video. As always, I analyze these music videos like I'm analyzing a film. I look at motifs and themes and how that factors into the Loonaverse. Because the Loonaverse isn't just the plotline or the lore, it's the overall language and message of Loona. So while Star does lean more into a standard style of K-pop music video with a focus on choreography, on dynamic sets with a lot of solo singing shots, don't be fooled by that because there's a lot to go into here. There's a lot of plot development here. So let's start right at the beginning with what they're establishing, because as always, I like to stress that it's important to know what the creative team and Loona want us to keep in mind throughout the video. And I see that as the choreography, its set, and the room of dreaming. So let's start with that room. The colors are warm, the lighting is soft and gentle with glowing lights to create a dreamy atmosphere, which is related to dreams. Loona are soundly sleeping there together, it's harmonious, and while that is directly related to the plotline, it also gives us a comforting and relaxed feeling. It's idealized, and when that ideal is taken away from us, we note its absence. Now, onto that choreography stage, which is just so cool. They utilize these really interesting shapes that are so otherworldly and defy gravity and give us this feeling of something strange and odd. The set centers Loona and draws our eyes towards them with its composition. Let's have a look at how the colors also achieve that. The set itself is neutrals, browns, whites, blacks, and Loona's costumes as well are very pale and they come across as quite washed out to me. I see them as such. But they have two colors which contrast, red and blue. The red light that orbits above is eye-catching. It's the only thing moving aside from the camera. Kwon is at the center of Loona and her hair is blue. It's on the other side of the color wheel, so it stands out and it's where our eyes will be drawn to. Now, while her hair color and position here are plot related, her hair is clearly utilized here to center her as the opener of the song and draw focus to Loona's position. The red orbit also creates depth in the shot and gives us perspective to how large this stage is and how little space Loona takes up in it. But more so than that, doesn't it look somewhat insular and contained to you? Look at how the wooden waves begin to reach over Loona as they ascend. Look at that complex pattern on the floor. Look at the metal bars behind them and how the circular stage is on a platform surrounded by darkness. It's isolated. So it's utilizing the Loonaverse's visual language here. It's reinforcing key motifs and suggesting to us their very familiar circumstance. So let's have a look at how that visual language is applied here. Firstly, the aspect ratio or letterboxing. Loona utilized this in almost all their music videos to communicate to us various things. Now, most of the time it's related to what is a general consensus among orbits, clues as to where they may be on the mobius strip, but I also think it represents the boundaries that Loona have to contend with. I interpret it as such due to the fact that the frame widens as Hyunjin joins a complete circle with the rest of Loona and begin an awakening within the second choreography stage. Something I've discussed in my Why Not analysis is duality. Two aspects of something, which is the red and the blue, other contrasting colors, the circular symbol, and I'm going to have a look at a few key examples here. The contrasting of blue and red is shown again here on the stage. Now, I've gone into my analysis of red and blue, but I will say that it's changed here. Blue and red are not at odds in this stage, in this scene. In fact, I see them as complementing each other by how they work together to draw focus. Now, let's go into the circular or loop motif. We see here the consistent reminder of the circle. Now, this represents Loona, the moon, the power of Loona when they're together, but it also represents their conflict, which is the loop, their struggle to ascend beyond the fate of repetition. So what I find so awesome is how they communicate it to us here. Have a look at these archways in the second choreography stage. They are not fully circular, but with their clear reflection, they create a symbol that reminds me me of the Klein bottle pointed out by orbits in the teaser, or even an infinity symbol or the 365 artwork. Luna confidently walk through a row of them and happily dance being circled by them. This strongly suggests that they have made a change to the circle, the loop, and the fate of the moon. This is plot development. Bringing back that letterboxing I mentioned, it appears again momentarily, but as Luna do this, we see this, and the letterboxing is gone. Now, I want to go back and talk about the choreography. Usually I don't focus much on it at all because we don't see a lot of the key moves in more recent music videos, but we get a lot of it here. So I'd like to go into something I don't normally bring up, which is how Luna utilized choreography in the Loonaverse. Luna have always used every medium they have to give us hints as to how their plot is advancing, and Star is no different. Koan is very integral in this video in terms of how she's utilized as a center. What's really interesting to note is how she centers two waves or cannons at the beginning and end of the song. I feel like Koan represents the center, or perhaps the eye of the storm within the Loonaverse's evolution. It's not normal for Koan to have such a central role outside of teasers, and I'm really enjoying that. But let's zoom back out to the overall story because that's what I like to focus on, and what Star tells us about Luna's development as characters is really exciting. I'm going to have a deep dive into the lyrics. Now again, normally I don't focus on lyrics too much, if at all, because Korean to English translations are often shaky, and despite best efforts to maintain the artist's message, I don't feel confident relying on them for any sort of concrete analysis normally. Luna are telling us here that they have started to change things, and they know that they are drawn to one another inexplicably in their dreams and otherwise, and while they feel unsure or even actively fight against this calling, they want to be together. One key line is "us against the sunrise," which indicates that perhaps some of our theories about the sun and moon and how that relates to Luna, and more specifically to Olivia Hay and Hyunjin, may be on track. Remember how I mentioned that floor pattern? It's a 16-point star, which is both the shape of a compass and the Virginia sun, which is an ancient symbol of the sun. It's a solar symbol. That is the power of Luna. They make you feel really smart. Luna have affected their restraints here. The loop has now evolved to something different with that Klein bottle motif. For good or bad, again, we're not sure. Their roles are much more clearly defined than they ever were, and that isn't about dumbing anything down. It says to me that Luna understand the road that they are on. They have perspective now, and I don't think it's ever really been clear before. I mean, look at this shot of Kim Lip with a spinning wheel. Not only is it a fun nod to the theme of dreaming in the song, it says to me that they have taken control and ownership of the greater conflict in their story. Luna as a whole decide when they go back to the beginning. They decide the frame. This kind of plot development is exactly what I was anticipating for this era of Luna, and I am so excited to see it finally happening. It was interesting, wasn't it, of Luna to release a song that is pretty Christmassy in November. And Christmas isn't a new concept or style to Luna at all, but they usually release it, you know, in December. So I want to hone in on that because it's clearly purposeful. Aside from Santa Claus, gifts, trees, great food, and of course family, what is Christmas? Aside from its religious meaning, it's reuniting with loved ones. It's a celebration of that. Luna have reunited here again, and I feel like we're celebrating that. A lot of Luna's videos are them trying to locate one another or being apart from one another, and they're mostly together here. Not only that, but demonstrating their strong bond to us. Star feels celebratory. It's heartwarming and affirming, but it also gives us clear hints to the plot development. And speaking of which, let's have a look at my favorite verse.
These nights go by, they're falling fast. Here in the moment, gone in the flash. I stop the world to know everything is okay. 'Cause we're running and running, it makes me nervous. We're almost for sure, but we scratched the surface. So close to perfect, it hurts to throw it away.
This solidifies my opinion that Loona are now truly aware that part of resetting their loop, or rather trying to break their restraints, means making the sacrifice of losing each other. They know that their time together will continue to end, and they'll have to start that painful, confusing process of finding each other again for the greater goal, and I feel like they're trying to process that. They're celebrating their friendship and connection with each other and us, because who knows how long it will take to break the loop. How many times will they lose each other? Life is fleeting and loss is inevitable, but let's celebrate what we have while we still have it and keep those memories close. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, and look after yourselves.